Hey guys, weekend energy update, and we got a lot to get into this weekend. There's pretty much the most happening between the 6th and the 7th of December. Feels like kind of all the main aspects of December hitting in the same weekend. We have two planets stationing in their motion, changing directions, one planet changing signs. We have an exact Mercury-Sun conjunction. We have an exact Sun-Jupiter opposition. Venus comes into an exact conjunction with Pluto. We have Mercury an exact square to Saturn, and I'm sure I'm forgetting some of the stuff just off the top of my head right now, but you know what that really probably means is a very busy weekend. We could feel kind of pulled in multiple different directions. There could be really big changes that are happening over very small periods of time, and we have a lot to talk about in our report for today, you guys. So I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time on the intro today because there's really just too much going on to summarize. And again, things really do change between Friday and Saturday this weekend. So let's just go ahead and get into the report, talk about how all of this is coming together for us this weekend, and how it might be impacting our experience as we head towards next week. Welcome back to my channel, you guys. Today is Friday, December 6th, 2024. My name is Aubrey. This is your astrological outlook of the weekend, where we are narrating the shift of the ages, and we do have a lot to talk about this weekend. As I mentioned in my intro, it really is like back to back to back and simultaneously occurring aspects all weekend, and we got some big ones going on, shifts and changes. I'm telling you guys, this month of December, we are probably going to find ourselves going through a period of some personal change. Personal growth is the, I think, like, cosmically desired outcome here, but there's just a lot that is setting us up for some like deep introspection, like reacquainting ourselves with maybe some of the lost dimensions of ourselves and what that does to kind of like reinvigorate the life force and set us maybe in a bit of different direction than we had been anticipating on going. We got lots of retrograde energy that we need to talk about, which has to do with redoing things, reconfiguring things, rethinking things, replanning things, again, like acquainting ourselves perhaps with lost or forgotten dimensions with the Mars retrograde in the sign of Leo, which we're going to be talking all about, our passions and what makes us feel alive, and like what it is that we truly love, and like maybe some dimensions of the inner child that we need to be re-inspired by or reconnected with on some level. So all together over the course of the weekend, it's another one of those periods of time where like the way we're feeling about things could change drastically over just a couple of hours, like from one day to another. Things could again be feeling like they're being pulled maybe in multiple directions, or we could feel like we've just sort of got a lot of balls in the air, or just kind of like so much going on right now. Maybe we can't catch our breath, or we're not really sure how everything's gonna land. But you guys, there's a strong Uranian Aquarian presence going on right now, and there's a strong north node of the moon presence going on right now. Both of those energies have to do with like getting us back on track in alignment with some higher plan or higher purpose, or again, like higher dimension maybe of ourselves that is just meant to be right now at this point in time. So things could be falling apart, things could be coming together, things could be undergoing some type of reconfiguration, maybe internally, externally, I don't know. But I do think that we are entering a period right now where we're really going to be questioning some things. We're really going to be getting straight with some things, getting right about some things. And I do think that we are going to be making perhaps some different choices or decisions about how we're going to move forward, how we're going to execute maybe on our plans than perhaps we had been, or I think we're just kind of be thinking about things differently after we move through this weekend and actually this next couple of months. Now, before I just like go off and start spouting all out about Mars retrograde and everything associated with it and where I think it's taking us, let me not forget to give us a rundown of the Friday various things that we have going on. As I said, we got multiple things happening on Friday, multiple things happening on Saturday. All together, I'm really looking at like 8 kind of exact and important transits all, or like shifts or direction changes, stations, you know what I mean, all happening between Friday and Saturday, the 6th into the 7th. So I'm going to start with Friday. I'm going to start by listing off to you guys the main transits that I'm looking at for Friday, talk about Friday, then we'll move on to Saturday, do the same thing, start by listing off everything that we have going on, and then we'll talk about it. I am not talking about Sunday this week. I actually didn't even look at the chart for Sunday, just because Friday and Saturday are such a focal point, and not as, you know, not just in the course of this week itself, but in the entire month of December, we have had pretty much all the big action happening this first week between the 1st and the 7th. We even had the new moon in Sagittarius on the 1st, and then we had Sun square Saturn, we've had Mercury Jupiter oppositions going on, and then the 6th and the 7th are like the epicenter of energetic activity happening literally for the entire month. As we move, especially through next week, things are going to be a lot more quiet. So it could honestly, I haven't looked at the charts, the energy, what we've got going on specifically for next week, but it could be like things that are happening of like such significance, or there could just be like such sudden twists and turns, or things going on this week and this weekend that next week is just kind of like a processing period, or things kind of calming down a little bit and adjusting maybe to whatever it was that is going on over the course of this week. So anyways, let me start. Friday, what do we have going on? First of all, the first thing that we have coming in terms of all of these transits that are grouped together over this 2-day period, actually it's happening on Friday the 6th from like universal time, but in terms of Eastern Standard Time, where I'm recording this, or you know, wherever, whatever time it is, wherever you're at in the world, you might want to time adjust it for. It's happening at exactly, let me tell you guys, 2:17 universal time, which actually translates into 9:17 p.m. on Thursday, December 5th. And this is for the Mercury retrograde Sun conjunction. We are having an exact alignment between Mercury and the Sun while Mercury is retrograding. This is always a more notable period of time in terms of astrology when Mercury and the Sun come to the exact same degree in the sky. It's called Kazemi, and we are said to receive some piece of missing information, something being highlighted that is of significance somehow, in terms of maybe something we'd been confused about, something we'd been rethinking, something that had been just like maybe rearranging itself, or just maybe something from the past as well. You know, Mercury retrograde often causes us to need to backtrack, rethink, regroup, and it can deal with people, places, and situations from the past. And when we have Mercury and the Sun coming into their exact alignment together, this is when it is said that we are able to gain that missing piece of information, maybe some necessary insight, some type of an epiphany or light bulb moment, something being highlighted for us that could perhaps help us figure something out, be less confused, gain a certain sense of clarity. Okay, so there may have been something along those lines that you experienced last night, maybe sometime yesterday, during the night. Also, dreams and stuff like that could be especially notable when we have a Sun Mercury exact alignment. So that's what that is. We also have a few hours later on Friday, of course, really the main, I would say this is like the most important aspect that we've got going on Friday, and that is Mars stationing in his motion, preparing to turn retrograde at 6 degrees of the sign of Leo. This is also happening in a trine to the North Node in the sign of Aries, which is Mars's sign. Okay, this to me is talking about this Mars retrograde process, the changes that we make maybe to our behavior or how we're doing things or what it is that we want to create moving forward is in some way related to this fated path of growth. Super Mars retrograde, I think, having to do with personal growth and the personal changes that we're going to make in order to like realign ourselves with that path to personal growth that universe is kind of pulling us towards right now. We've got the destiny point in the sign of Mars, trining Mars while he stations in the sign of Leo, and the Sun, interestingly enough, is in the sign of Sagittarius. So with Mars and Leo, stationing to go retrograde. That sign is ruled by the sun. The sun is in Sagittarius, about expansion. Mars is about the self. Leo, the sun in the sign of Sagittarius, this is about expansion, personal expansion. But the tricky thing is here, and this is what we keep coming up against, and we're going to be talking about this more as we move through the video today and as we move through the month of December. It's personal growth, but there's something that needs to be overcome. There's some blockage, there's some constriction, some limitation, whether it's literally like a belief system or some old subconscious programming that has been like obstructing our ability to see ourselves clearly, or to see our potential clearly, or to like make the most of ourselves in some way, or like tap that inner potential, or whether it's literally like external circumstances that have been overly controlling or overly authoritative or overly just like limiting our ability to like actually expand in some type of a way. It's very clear, like, we need to conquer something. We need to overcome something. We need to persevere through something, like, and our reward for being able to make that breakthrough is going to be this massive phase of personal growth, this expansion into this higher dimension of ourselves that perhaps we weren't even aware like was existing within us, but now is completely undeniable and is really inspiring us to reach for more, to become more, to do more, and to really change a lot about our lives in order to like get in alignment with that pursuit. I feel like ultimately at the end of the day, that's where all this is guiding us. And when we pull it back, of course, and look at things on the greater level associated with our larger transition into the age of Aquarius right now, the page that we are on at this ever unfolding cosmic blueprint, Aquarius is an age that requires self-actualization. Pluto has also just entered the sign of Aquarius for a 20-year Aquarius transit that is going to be empowering us on some level, on many levels, on every level, to transform ourselves in alignment with our higher potential, with that destiny that is being activated within us right now, or with phase of personal growth and self-actualization that becomes like undeniable, and like we just can't break ourselves free from it. With Pluto there, it could honestly be like this obsessive drive to realign with our own authenticity and make it all that it can be. So Pluto through Aquarius is empowering the individual. A lot of the energy that we have coming through in December is about us getting right with ourselves and figuring out, you know, maybe what we've been in denial about, or what we've been doing wrong, or the fallacies of our own ways, or, you know, how we can just realign the way that we are using our energy to get a better personal outcome in terms of us being happy, like us truly feeling alive, the joy, the ability to move through our lives from a place of like personal creative self-expression, reacquainting ourselves with our true passions and like our true joy and stuff like that with the Leo energy. And again, ultimately reinvigorating our personal vitality and like filling us back up again with the life force to do, to be, to build, to create, and the courage and the strength that is associated with the Leo archetype as well. So and we're going to talk much more about Mars's retrograde in the sign of Leo, but all that stuff just came to my head and came out of my mouth, so I said it. Now, the third thing that we've got going on Friday was Mercury because remember, Mercury is retrograding right now. That is why we are having the Mercury-Sun conjunction. We already had a Mercury-Sun conjunction, but Mercury stationed retrograde in Sag, back, and now we had another one, as I said, early hours of the 6th, and Mercury continues to retrograde over the course of the day on the 6th and ends up at 13 degrees of the sign of Sagittarius, which happens to be exactly square Saturn in the sign of Pisces, which is an energy that we actually talked about in our last video, except take Mercury and replace it with the sun. We had an exact Sun-Saturn square in the energy of Wednesday this week. Well, now on Friday, after Mercury and the Sun come into their exact conjunction, Mercury continues to backtrack through Sagittarius and hits the degree exactly where Saturn is, forming that exact square. Delays, frustrations, limitations, issues with authority, like mental struggles that are just and irritations and like every little thing weighing on us. This is what Mercury square Saturn can bring into our lives and experiences. So somehow that could be another dimension of what we're kind of working with on Friday. And then finally, the last thing I want to talk about for Friday, the moon will be transiting through Aquarius on Friday and forming a trine to Jupiter in the sign of Gemini and a sextile to Mercury in Sagittarius. So this could really, honestly, like generally, Moon trining Jupiter and sextile to Mercury would be very uplifting. It would be probably inspiring and create some maybe enthusiasm or some excitement, optimism for sure. Probably feeling like very filled up, hopeful, kind of like, you know, very benefic energy where we're just kind of feeling good about stuff and like everything's working out. However, because of this square to Saturn that is happening simultaneously, it's like, we want to get there. We want to feel good about things. We want this like restoration of like hope and faith, and we want the vision to be, you know, aligned with where we feel like we're going. However, again, like maybe all the little hindrances, duties, responsibilities, obligations, tasks, rules, regulations, like orders coming through, or just things that are creating delays, blockages, or frustrations that are kind of like, we want to expand, we want to move forward, but we can't because of this, and this. So I would say maybe expect some delays, maybe expect people to not exactly be getting back to you like they might normally in the energy of Friday. Mars retrograde and Mercury squaring Saturn, both of these, I mean, Mars is our energy levels, right? Like this is where we're going. This is what we're doing. This is how we're behaving. This is the action that's taking place. It's our energy. It's forward movement. When we are, and Mercury also is like things happening quickly, things going back and forth, things happening in a streamlined manner, communication, movement, travel. Squaring Saturn though, that's limitation, restriction, restraint, things being held back, things being overly controlled. And Mars retrograde, that's like pulling it back, pumping on the brakes. Like we are not moving forward like full speed ahead when Mars is retrograde. Actually, we're kind of like questioning whether we should take that next step. Actually, we're kind of like reconsidering if we are going in the right direction, if we want to keep moving forward in that direction. So both of these, when we put them together, I just feel like are indications for delays, hesitations, and hangups that could be coming through on Friday, even though that Aquarius moon is trining Jupiter, sextiling Mercury, and like still supporting the big vision. But it's like there could just be some, you know, irritation or struggles or challenge that we're dealing with in our pursuit to like orient ourselves in that direction or move ourselves forward. It could feel like every little mistake also is kind of coming back to bite us, or the details and things are somehow interfering with like the larger plan or the larger vision that we are attempting to orient ourselves towards right now. Again, like it's Mercury. Mercury rules like all the little things, little tasks, little duties, little responsibilities that we maybe like have to get done, or like jobs or just rules or orders that we've got to fill or follow or something like that, that are keeping us maybe from putting our energy into what we actually want to be working towards or growing or producing or creating right now. And again, Saturn, this is bosses or authority figures, or maybe just generally some type of limitation hindering our growth, hindering our progress, making things difficult. So that could be the general vibe of things, sort of, on Friday with all this going on. But also with this planetary combination going on, Mercury square Saturn, Mercury retrograde square Saturn also, and Mars stationing retrograde, things just are likely to slow down for one reason or another. And I do think it indicates a time of reconstructing our world from the inside out largely. What changes do we need to make now to what has already been done on one hand? On the other hand, what do we need to change about how we're going to act and what we're going to do and how we're going to use our energy moving forward? Now, as I mentioned, and this is important to me, Mars stations in a trine to the North Node in Aries. Mars is in the sign of Leo, the sign of the sun, currently in Sagittarius and in a square to Saturn in Pisces. When I boil all that down, as I already said once, I'm going to say it again, this is about personal expansion, you guys, and personal growth and the barriers that we need to break down and break through in order to grow and expand in this new direction, in alignment with like this divine timing that is being just activated right now as a part of, I think, our greater shift and transition of ages into the age of Aquarius. We are being pushed to overcome limitations that have prevented us from growing and expanding in this particular direction until this exact point in time. And with Mars retrograding in the sign of Leo, we now get to re-identify with the deeper nature of our own heart. Leo being the sign very much so associated with the heart, passion, joy, creativity, what brings us to life, what makes us feel alive, a closer internal knowing of our own inner desires, our true passions, our true motivations, helping us to find also the courage and the strength, being the lion within ourselves to do what we know is actually best for ourselves. This is about reconnecting to the soul's true purpose at this point in time, discovering and stepping into that role with the personal authority, leadership, and tenacity. This is like, I mean, Aries is the sign of the warrior, the leader, and the pioneer. With the North Node having just spent the past year and a half transiting the sign of Aries and now coming to the point in time where we are actually on our way to conclude that transit, we should have learned a lot over this past year and a half, and we should feel on some level more empowered in our own experience somehow, be it as the warrior, be it as the pioneer, be it as the leader, or some type of combination of all three, the hero. We also have had Chiron transiting the sign of Aries while the North Node was transiting the sign of Aries. To me, this is talking about also the hero's journey, maybe that we've been on over this period of time, or somehow that archetype as well interwoven into the experiences that have been helping us to step into our warrior archetype or our leader archetype or our pioneer archetype, or again, like some type of alchemization or combination or hybrid of the three of those. But with this retrograde now, Mars ruling the energy that has been in charge of the North Node, that is, well, it's the destiny point, but that is like the collective next phase of growth, of evolution, of learning, what we are learning and growing into. And on any North Node transit, it's like that whole period of time we're on a journey to become something, to learn something new, to evolve somehow, to grow some other new dimension of ourselves defined by whatever the sign is that the North Node is moving through at that point in time. And since we've been having the North Node move through the sign of Aries, it has been about the Aries qualities, therefore. And with the ruler of Aries now stationing to go retrograde in a trine to the North Node, as the North Node prepares to conclude this period of time that has been teaching us the lessons associated with the Aries archetype, we get to, on one hand, you know, kind of test our progress, see where we're at, and also reconsider what changes we need to make to finally become the outcome of where this entire North Node journey through the sign of Aries, year and a half portion of our lives, has been trying to lead us and turn us into and bring us to the point of understanding or something. Okay, so I feel like this Mars retrograde is kind of like the last phase of adjustment of whatever lesson this past year and a half in the North Node's transit through the sign of Aries is bringing us. So I hope that made sense. I hope I didn't just use like way too many words and say that in a way more confusing way than I needed to. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I'm a Gemini ascendant, and with all this Mercury retrograde in Sag opposite Jupiter in Gemini, and I've been kind of a little bit all over the place mentally as well. So hopefully you guys can follow me on my own mental roller coaster as we move through this report and over this next couple of weeks. Anyways, so awakening to the soul's purpose, stepping onto that path. I think this Mars retrograde is going to kind of like, you know, nudge us in that direction a bit. I expect people to become more personally oriented and more, in some ways, self-aware over this next couple of months, and ready, primed to make these big personal changes and redirects. It's a time to edit ourselves and our lives in a way that makes us feel happier and more passionate and more alive. The Leo vibe. And Mars will retrograde into the sign of Cancer as well. And that is gonna have us, maybe redefining the way that we're using our energy in the context of home and family as well. And we'll be talking about all that. We got a couple of months. Mars is going to be retrograde, I believe, until like February 23rd. So we've got a lot of maybe redos or fixes, repairs that are going to be coming up over this next couple of months between now and the end of February. But definitely, I would say an element of breaking through these previous limitations, right? With the Sun in Sagittarius ruling the position of Mars, squaring Saturn, that's where our growth comes from, our ability to overcome that which has held us back in the past, okay? So, and again, Saturn and Pisces, this could be limiting beliefs, or it could be restricting or overly controlling systems somehow, or just something that has held power over us that we no longer can continue to or are willing to submit to. Mars stations at 6 degrees of the sign of Aquarius. That Sabian symbol is actually the Sabian symbol for 7 Aquarius, the constellations of stars shining brilliantly in the night sky, one of my personal favorites. It's the astrology degree. And with Mars stationing at the astrology degree and a trine to the North Node, again, that to me is an indication of it like literally being written in the stars, the changes that are happening now, part of some bigger cosmic plan that is on its way to come to pass. And what we are the way that things are being redirected right now is actually to get us back to where we need to be, even if we're unaware that we were ever off the track in the first place. Okay, also, it's happening, it's 6 degrees of the sign of Aquarius, right? Pluto is at 0 degrees of Aquarius right now. So it's also happening in an opposition to Pluto, although this is not a super tight opposition to Pluto, but Mars is actually going to retrograde back and come to another opposition with Pluto. If you guys remember, a couple weeks back, we went through a period of time where we had sort of a few days where Mars and Pluto were in this like standoff in the sky. And it was a pretty intense, confrontational, energetic atmosphere. We've got the retrograde version of that is going to be coming back around in a couple of weeks now that Mars is stationing retrograde and Pluto's in the sign of Aquarius. But again, with the even loose opposition where Mars is stationing, that's just another indication to me that it's happening in opposition to Pluto at 0 Aquarius, that these are meaningful changes or transformations. While they may not be easy, while there may be a level of destruction or having to like burn some things down that is like incorporated into our ability to make these changes right now, it's necessary, and like it's defining the next 20 years. The changes and the reconfigurations and actually the new beginnings that this Mars retrograde bridges us into, I do think are going to be kind of like foundational in terms of how the next 20 years goes, or just the way that things are setting up right now, playing some type of significant role in terms of the major themes that we're involved in somehow as Pluto transits Aquarius between now and in 2044. And again, I think that this is going to call us to like figure some things out and to start using our energy in a way that is just like more productive to our overall ability to live a life that we really love and that like really makes us feel alive and like we're playing some type of significant role in this whole entire unfolding cosmic story, okay? So the leader, the warrior, the pioneer, these times are truly with Mars stationing at the astrology degree, the constellations of stars shining brilliantly in the night sky, written in the stars, trine the North Node. This is divine alignment. This is divine timing, the time to awaken, the time to grow. All right. So that's Friday. That's what I'm saying about Friday. Let's transition now and talk about the energy for Saturday, December 7th, another day with multiple things happening. number one. We have Neptune stationing direct in the sky on Saturday. We have Venus leaving Capricorn, entering the sign of Aquarius. So that's two big shifts. Whenever a planet stations, it amplifies the energy of that planet, and it's a kind of like a big energetic turning point, sort of. And then when we have a planet changing signs, this also brings about an energetic shift. And of course, we know that we have Pluto at 0 degrees of the sign of Aquarius. That means when Venus leaves Capricorn, enters Aquarius, the first thing she does is hit 0 degrees and comes into an exact alignment with Pluto. Venus conjunct Pluto. This is a powerful, intense energy, especially when we're talking about relationship dynamics. It does give obsessive tendencies about things as well, but with Venus in Aquarius, you guys, in a conjunction to Pluto, this is going to be an obsessive desire to make probably like a big, powerful change or transformation. What is highlighting this theme perhaps even more is the fact that now that we have Venus entering the sign of Aquarius, that sets us up with another mutual reception that is happening in the sky. If you guys have been following along with the astrology, following my channel, I've been talking a lot about a mutual reception that we've got going on currently between Jupiter and Mercury. A mutual reception between two planets is when the planets are in each other's signs at the same time. And this is when it blends the energy of those planets. We currently have Jupiter transiting through the sign of Gemini. That is a sign ruled by Mercury, while we have Mercury transiting through the sign of Sagittarius. That is a sign ruled by Jupiter. So Jupiter in Mercury sign, Mercury in Jupiter sign, voila, we have a mutual reception going on between these two planets. Now, Uranus has currently been engaged in a 7-year transit through the sign of Taurus, which is ruled by Venus. We have Venus on Saturday the 7th entering the sign of Aquarius, which is ruled by Uranus. That means now Venus is in Uranus's sign and Uranus is in Venus's sign. And Venus is starting out the mutual reception by coming into a conjunction with Pluto, ruling power in all of its forms, death, rebirth, purge, purification, regeneration, transformation. And Uranus and Aquarius are energies that have a lot to do with change, authenticity, truth, and also that like higher purpose, that destiny, latent destiny perhaps, what we're reaching for, what we're striving for. So very interesting that we've got those two things. Neptune stationing, well, I guess that's not two things, it's actually 4 things. Neptune stationing, Venus changing signs, Venus conjuncting Pluto, Venus in mutual reception with Uranus. I'm telling you, and I'm going to talk all about this. I got tons of notes on it, tons of ideas about it. We're going to get into all of it. But definitely, Venus is what we want. It's what we love. It's what we desire. It's what we're attracted to. It's what we think is beautiful and appealing. It's our preferences. It's our values. It's our desires. It's what we find worth in. The mutual reception with Uranus and in Aquarius and with Pluto there, I'm telling you guys, like, people are going to be having a powerful, almost obsessive desire to make big spontaneous changes to free themselves from anything that feels suffocating, anything that feels inauthentic, anything that feels fake or superficial or just does not like vibe, doesn't resonate. As a result of that, I do think that there's going to be a lot of relationship breakdowns as we start off this month of December and head through this weekend as well, okay? And the third thing, we also have the sun. Well, it's not the third thing because I've just named 4 things, so I guess it would be the 5th thing, but it's just the way I've got it written down. I've got 3 things because I like combined all the Venus, Aquarius, Pluto mutual reception into one thing, so the 5th thing that we've got going on is the sun coming into exact opposition with Jupiter, Sagittarius, Gemini on Saturday as well. So that's what I'm looking at. Neptune stationing, Venus entering Aquarius, Venus conjoining Pluto, Venus mutual reception with Uranus, and the sun coming into the opposition exactly with Jupiter. So put all this together today, I actually feel like this is kind of a fresh energy, despite maybe the generalized intensity or just a bit of frustration associated with the times as well. Neptune stationing direct at 27 degrees of Pisces. You may have noticed over over the course of this past couple of months, specifically from the beginning of July through to now, illusions that have been breaking down, maybe some type of shift in your belief systems. Neptune stationed retrograde on July 2nd, and this is an energy about actually trying to help us gain maybe some clarity in terms of what we are in denial about, maybe where we are deceiving ourselves or others, or being deceived by others, maybe what illusions or false narratives or delusions we've been buying into. Neptune retrograde breaks the spell. Okay, so that could have been kind of like a defining feature of this past couple of months, would be like illusion after illusion, facade after facade, ideal after ideal, just not being what we thought it was. And as a result of that, maybe now we're at a point where we want to make some changes. So I feel like this energy is kind of playing into everything else that we've got going on right now as well. And Neptune energy, like this represents the dream state. This is the hypnosis perhaps, or like, again, like any type of spell or fantasy or illusion. It's the grand vision, it's the ideal, but it's not necessarily what is actually like realistic, okay? But Venus in Aquarius, that's the wake-up call. In a mutual reception with Uranus, like, no, we can't be deceived. We're not falling for the facade. We're not looking at things through rose-colored glasses when we have Venus transiting Aquarius in a mutual reception with Uranus and in a conjunction to Pluto. No, we actually are seeing things very clearly for what they are, and we only want what truly fits us. All right, this will probably bring with it an intense desire for purge, transformation, change, and regenerations in our lives, in our relationships, if we are realizing perhaps that something we were involved in is more of a fantasy than a reality. Okay, so that, I think, is how these particular planetary combinations kind of feed into each other, happening on the same day at the same time. Let's talk about Venus in Aquarius for a minute. Venus in Aquarius is an energy that inspires us to want things like personally tailored to our own unique individual preferences, values, and desires. We want something that like truly fits us and fits us right and fits us well, and we're not really satisfied with the norms and with like the cookie cutters of things. Okay, it one size fits all. That's not the game plan. That's not going to make us happy. That's not what we want. When Venus is in the sign of Aquarius, Venus is our desires, it's our values, you know, what we find worth in, it's our preferences, and Aquarius is very individualistic, very authentic, and it's like we want it to fit us and like vibe with us sort of like exclusively. We can't just like go pick anything off the rack that is made for like the standard size. I don't know why I keep using like clothing metaphors, but that's sort of what it's like. It's like we can't just pick something off the rack that like kind of is our size. When we've got Venus in Aquarius, like we want it designed and tailored specifically like to our preferences so that it feels like an authentic match to us. Okay, that's just what Venus in Aquarius wants and how it is and how it operates. Everything we choose and desire and pick out is because it fits us just right somehow. Anything that doesn't resonate on that level will have no attraction, no appeal. However, an attraction, and maybe like a powerful attraction to that which does feel authentic, does feel unique, does feel innovative or unusual or outside of the box or just specifically aligned to us somehow. That is what we're yearning for. That is what we want. That is where we are oriented, and that is where the attraction lies. On the flip side of this, anything that does not see or value our unique style or our unique skill or worth or purpose is also not going to have much value, attraction, appeal to us when we've got now Venus transiting Aquarius, but also in the mutual reception with Uranus. And Venus and Pluto together to start this transit, I expect, especially relationships that are not aligned with that authenticity, with those authentic feelings, with that genuine purpose, with like that true resonation to like who we are, what we're made of, what we want, what we're growing into. Basically anything also that is not supportive of this path of growth that we are trying to move towards now, I think it's going to implode. I think it's going to be destroyed. I think when we look at the death and rebirth side of the Pluto energy, you know, the purge, the purification, like that's what we're going to be willing to get rid of. Anything that we are realizing like, oh, you know, I thought I liked that, like I thought that was suitable to me, but now as I'm rediscovering myself, as I'm reacquainting with like the more authentic dimensions of myself, I'm realizing that actually it's completely intolerable to me, and I cannot have and I don't want anything that is out of alignment with this new authentic real version of myself that I can't hide from anymore, that is just happening whether I like it or not. So you know, we want purpose, we want truth, we want meaning, and we want change, and we're just not going to tolerate the superficial, the surface level, the fake, whatever is lacking meaning or just makes us feel bored or understimulated as well. Uranus is a very like excitable, like it just wants to be spontaneous, it wants to do something different, it wants to feel alive. I do feel like this is about like re-harnessing our life force energy and beginning to figure out how to live our lives in a way that is like feeding our inner fire, in a way that just makes everything more vibrant and more fulfilling also. But of course, I feel like it's sort of a part of universe's plan right now to get us on the path to whatever it is we're supposed to be doing. Okay, there's a soul purpose that needs to be fulfilled as we move throughout the course of this next 20 years. So this is the season of relationship changes, you guys. Even though Uranus is expect the unexpected energy, and when we've got a Uranian flavor to things, a lot of times things are shocking and unexpected and we can't call it or we can't pin it down. But with the mutual reception to Venus, I do feel quite confident in saying perhaps one thing that we can expect is changes to be going on in relationships that just, you know, re-inspire us, reinvigorate us, bring us something new, but something new that is much more aligned and just vibes with us on a way better level somehow. And with it starting out in the conjunction to Pluto, I do think this dynamic may actually be the most intense as we move through this weekend. This obsessive, perhaps, desire to change or to do things different, okay? So Neptune stationing, Venus doing the most, and then the final thing I want to talk about for Saturday is the exact opposition between the Sun and Jupiter. Gemini and Sagittarius is happening at 17 degrees. This is generally and would normally be a very uplifting aspect that can like light our fire and have us feeling filled with hope and optimism and like this big vision and opportunity and possibility, kind of like this larger than life energy that is enhancing our ability to like feel confident about the way things are going and like believe in ourselves and stuff like that. It's also generally a very good day to ask for a favor or to like lend someone a helping hand somehow. But you guys, we've got Saturn. We've had Saturn all week. We had Saturn for the new moon. Saturn is a presence in the month of December. And with this opposition happening at 17 degrees, remember I said actually on Saturday, Saturn will be at 14 degrees. So we've got a 3-degree orb T-square that is going on, and that is probably going to make things a bit more of a struggle to maintain that, you know, natural level of optimism that has a tendency of coming through when we've got a Sun-Jupiter opposition going on. So, and Mercury is also in a square to Saturn right now. Mercury is ruling the position of Jupiter, with Jupiter being in the sign of Gemini. So again, struggle, challenge, frustration in our ability to maintain this optimism and enthusiasm, sort of like the vibe that we had going on Friday. So with Venus entering the sign of Aquarius and the fact that aside from the T-square, the Sun is still in the once yearly opposition to Jupiter and Gemini, air sign, this could feel slightly like a breath of fresh air. It could, again, be kind of like inspiring us to want to make some type of change. But again, I feel like it's still coming back to the need to overcome something, be released from something, break through something, figure something out, reconfigure something within us, within our mind, within our belief system somehow, in order so that we can successfully move forward, successfully expand, successfully grow. Ultimately, all of this energy and the month of December, I feel like comes down to this pursuit in alignment with personal growth and personal expansion, but something that we need to overcome, some tests, some limitations, some struggle, but it's like we need to maybe gain this one last skill or this level of confidence in ourselves, or like prove to ourselves that we are truly capable maybe of something that we didn't know that we were, as a facet, like as like a necessary part of who we are yet to become. I think that the struggles here we're dealing with are not purposeless. I think that they are giving us actually maybe a bit of what we need to do what we're going to be doing next. So we've got all that. Neptune is stationing at 27 degrees of Pisces. That Sabian symbol is a fertile garden under the full moon. It reveals an abundance of full-grown vegetables. This is about discovering hidden potential, hidden abundance. Kind of also reminds me of Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. Rediscovering or awakening to the potential that is really held deep within us that we may have, again, just like disregarded or detached ourselves from, or distanced ourselves from, or forgotten about, or denied within ourselves as well for a long period of time. Hidden potential that is making itself known. With the Sun and Jupiter, that opposition is happening at 17 degrees of Pisces and 17 degrees of Gemini, where Jupiter is, and Sagittarius, where the Sun is. 17 Gemini is the head of a robust youth, changes into that of a mature thinker. This is obviously about changing our thinking, changing our perspective, maturing on some level. That's what Saturn is asking us to do right now as well. And then 17 Sag, where the Sun is. That Sabian symbol is an Easter sunrise service, an acknowledgement of a rebirth, a new day, a new opportunity, another chance at life. You know, we rise up with the way that this is coming together right now. We may, again, like feel like a lot is stacked against us, like things could be a bit of a challenge, frustrating, difficult with the Saturn squares going on. That can make us feel like the weight of the world is on our shoulders, or like all work and no play. And maybe that is what we need to fix or change or reconfigure somehow in our lives. But I do think this Mars retrograde between now and the end of February, we're going to be changing the way that we like do life, actually in a way that is more fulfilling to who we really are and like what feeds our soul, okay, like what makes us feel alive. Neptune stationing, now we have an ability to have a clear understanding of what is and isn't realistic or possible for us perhaps. And Venus entering Aquarius, we want change. All right, so I feel like that is how everything's coming together. That's also what we have going on sort of like in isolation, and that's what I'm gonna say about everything that we've got going on this weekend. I'm sure we will be having a bit of a continuation of this discussion in our video for Monday as well. As I said, the energy next week does like simmer down a little bit. We don't have a whole bunch going on. We got kind of a quiet, energetic week next week, and it's probably a good period of time to process maybe some of the stuff that's gone on in all of the back-to-back action that has happened this first week of December. So that's what we got, you guys. I'm gonna get us a synchronicity card now. God, Spirit, Universe, we need one piece of guidance or advice that could really be beneficial to us as we move through this weekend. What should we keep in mind? What should we tell ourselves? It's your attitude. That's our card. It says, straight is the gate and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. Matthew 7:14. The only way you can alter outer conditions is to change your mental attitude. What is that? Jupiter degree, the head of a robust youth, changes into that of a mature thinker. Same idea. For harmony, peace, prosperity, and health to enter your life, you must fill your subconscious with the understanding that all harmony, peace, abundance, and security is yours right now. So mindset shifts, perspective shifts, changes in attitude, and perhaps changes in the way that we are, going to be conducting ourselves and putting our life together moving forward. Universe says, keep an eye on your attitude, and the more that we can orient ourselves internally towards what we would like to experience externally, of course, the more things are probably going to go in our favor as we move through this period of time. But as I said, I do think right now a lot is very much kind of like out of our control. This is a divinely oriented period of time. Uranus very active, Pluto in Aquarius, the North Node. I feel like the higher power is always playing a role in everything that's unfolding, but where we are at right now and the current unfolding of our cosmic blueprint, our paradigm shift, the shift of the ages, I think that it's like kind of crucial right now that things happen maybe in a bit of a more specific way, maybe according to a more specific like timeline of events or something like that. And like things need to happen now for some reason. It just looks like the way the energy is coming together. So like there could just be kind of like this sense of a higher power in control, and surrendering to that also, and being willing to make the changes that universe seems to be calling us to make right now. Probably just a part of this like literal point in time that we are moving through. So that's what I have to say today, you guys. Message from the stars, our synchronicity message, my personal perception of how all this is coming together. I don't know. We'll see. It should be interesting. So that's what I have to say. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did like it, please give me a thumbs up, you guys. Share it with your friends if you think they would enjoy this type of astrology content. Subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate when you guys do that. It helps my channel out a lot. It actually helps my channel grow when you hit that subscribe button. So if you would want to do that, I would love for you to do that. If you want to know what's on this here whiteboard, I have a Facebook group linked in my description box below where I post images of these boards. And please leave me comments, you guys. Your input, what you guys have to say, very, very valuable to me. I really appreciate knowing what's going on with you guys out there. If you're having experiences that line up with what I'm talking about in these videos, please let me know in my comment section below. And I will be back on Monday, you guys. Busy astrology week or not, I will be here to talk all about it. I'm sure that we're still going to have a lot to go through and a lot to talk about, and I will be here to do just that. So you don't want to miss it. Come back with me on Monday, you guys, and I will see you then. Until then, have a beautiful weekend. Bye.